Okay, are you still recording? Yes. Let's keep it that way. Okay, this time should be actually recording video and audio. You would think I'd be over these amateur technical difficulties, but here we are. Anyways, hello, welcome back to Channel Blue. If you haven't noticed, I did get my new camera, and I've been saving up for this thing for the entire summer, and I am really excited to finally have it. I've already filmed some stuff for my next short creative video with this camera, and oh my goodness, it does look amazing. It literally, I couldn't get over how excited I was when I first watched back my footage for one of my shots in the next vid. I did accidentally record myself in 6K 60. That did kind of contribute a little bit to the wow factor for sure. Because I was like, wow, I didn't know that I could get video this crisp in my life personally and not just see it on a screen in a movie. Did accidentally film myself in 6K 60 with an uncompressed raw codec, which basically equates to an insanely high amount of storage needed for a short amount of video. So that definitely wasn't smart, but the footage looks great on my end. So yeah, also still need to figure out how to export videos correctly. So the quality of this video might not even look that good, because I might not know how to export it properly still. So might take me a bit longer to figure that one out, but that's okay. That's why I'm doing this during the summer and not during school, so that I hopefully have a little bit more time to figure this stuff out. But anyways, today I wanted to talk about the fact that, I have this new camera and what this means for my content, this big transition in, my content, and like how it looks for my channel. But also, I think while I'm having this like big visual transition for my content, I thought it'd be a good time to talk about a little bit about why I started this channel and like what it means to me, and on a more like philosophical level, like why I even do it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, so I'm just gonna get straight into it. Basically, I would say ever since I was like a kid, I've liked the idea of filming myself in front of my, iPhone 7 or whatever I had at that time. And it's just been like a quiet curiosity inside of me for a while. And then in 2020, when I was watching more content for clear reasons, the idea of being a YouTuber kind of became emerged more on the forefront of my mind. I never really fully considered it as an option for me, but it was definitely something that I was like, in another life, I feel like I'd be good at that. Like, I would thrive doing that. While what I've been making is not the type of YouTube content that I thought I would be making, which was just like kind of pointless, silly, superficial vlogs. While I'm making content that isn't that on YouTube, I am still really enjoying what I'm making, and I like what I'm making, and I think what I'm making is of some sort of contribution to media overall. So yeah, it's something that I'm feeling fulfilled by and still liking, even if I'm not like doing vlogs or whatever, which is probably for the better. In more recent years, I've been inspired by people like Madeline Archie that kind of make more empathetic, helpful, nurturing, productive content that kind of helps you look at life in a different way on a fundamental basis, and how you view yourself, and like all these kind of soft skills. That's been something that I've been inspired by. Then, the shorter creative videos are just me kind of exploring the more visually inclined, I guess, part of me that's kind of interested in visual art. I know for certain one of the things I know the most intensely about myself is that I'm aesthetically driven. I'm very aesthetically driven, almost to a fault. I am swayed by a video game with amazing visuals. I am enamored with the perfection that goes into lighting in movies. I thought I was maybe going to be like a logo designer for for a little bit in high school. I'm largely relatively into fashion and have been trying to curate some sense of style for the past 5 years. I've very much, not even just in the visual sense, been aesthetically driven in the reason why I like music so much too. Like, music is literally the perfect medium to curate an aesthetic. I would say just as viably as visuals can do so. And so for a long time I've kind of like nurtured that auditory aesthetic inclination that I've had in myself. But recently I've been exploring visuals as well. And that's kind of what I'm doing with my shorter, more creative videos. And obviously I've talked about how I have longer sit-down videos like this that are just like me talking to the camera, and I also have the shorter creative vids. And I think that having these two different types of content ultimately does make it harder for me to like market myself as like a creator that has a specific niche. But I do think that it's a multifacetedness of myself that I want to push forward with my content. And also I have seen it be done before on YouTube channels. Like, it is able to be pulled off to have kind of two main types of content that you kind of just flip-flop between. Yeah, I do think that it makes it a little bit harder for me, but I don't think I want to split my two different types of content into different channels necessarily. At least not right now. Maybe I'll change my mind. And ultimately, on like a more societal level, while I think that watching a creator hone their craft in having a specific type of content that they deliver in like a specific niche, and watching them get better at that over time is a really wonderful thing to experience, I do think that expecting every content creator to only be able to show one facet of themselves to their own audience is an unnecessary lens to view content creators through, as there's nothing wrong with having a particular niche that a content creator might fit into. There's also nothing wrong with a creator being able to show off their complexity as a human and their multifacetedness, even if complexity and nuance is less marketable and attention grabbing in the online sphere. And ultimately, I think advertising yourself as one person that makes one type of content that has one sort of role to fulfill only supports the overall like consumeristic society that we live in. And I think complexity in every sense of the word and every aspect of your content is something that is more gratifying and beneficial for us as audience members and consumers of content to experience. But all that to say, I'm just really excited to have this new camera. And I think having this new camera is going to give this channel a little bit more of a feeling of like intentionality that I feel it hasn't really had that much of historically. Another reason why I'm making these videos, specifically like the shorter, more creative videos, is I do feel, at least more recently, as I've come to terms with myself and my reality of like my temperament and personality, is that I'm an archival person. I realized around high school that my friends had a lot more of an outgoing demeanor towards life than I possessed. They were more comfortable with taking risks than I was. They were more willing to get back up after a failure. And I started noticing in myself that I wasn't that way and that I didn't operate that way. I was risk averse, and I would ruminate intensely when a catastrophic failure happened in my life in any way. And so I started to notice these things about myself, being that I might not be as outgoing as I would like to be. And so because of that, I've had to come to terms with the fact that there are some experiences that I look forward to in life that I see other people left and right having, that I'm excited to have, and I'm excited for these big experiences to happen to me, and they may actually never happen. Like, yeah, I can't wait for this thing to happen. I can't wait to see how I'm going to react when that thing finally happens to me. But the truth about our limited time being alive is that there are certain things that like I anticipate to happen in my life that actually will never happen. And again, I think that because I'm someone that is more risk averse and tolerant of watching opportunity pass me by in life, that reality is just like even more real and intensified for me. I think through all of that, and what I've grown to realize recently, is that I think the most fulfilling and important part of having any experience in your life is the fact that it has happened uniquely and only and exclusively to you. And again, I've come to terms that I may not experience all in my life that I expect to, but I think that if I do choose to experience what I do have happen to me in my life fully and intensely and passionately, and I live my life with intention, there is no loss of gratification to be had for me in my life experience, or deep fulfillment in my life experience, even if they do seem objectively less glamorous than others' experiences. And unfortunately, I think that self-assurance is something that I see being attacked a lot in other people, whether online or in person. I've seen it in both, or at least with in-person stuff. I've seen people operate out of a place of this kind of opposition to what I just said, which I will explain to you now. I see a lot of people reacting to someone celebrating a moment in their life that meant a lot to them by attempting to minimize and then denigrate their experience by saying it's just them being grateful for what they have instead of having something of actual echelon. There are arguments that at the end of the day say you can be as grateful as you want about what's happened to you, but like you can't refute the fact that I've objectively had a more fulfilling and more intrinsically fulfilling experience than you've ever had. And that like I get what you don't. And that kind of apathetic, aggressive jeer, I feel like, is everywhere online and in person. And I truly think that saying that to a person is one of the most harmful and dangerous things you can ever say to a person. Or just insinuating that, or like trying to in a roundabout way express that argument to a person without explicitly saying it, like that still counts too. Trying to make someone feel like they're just coping for not having as glamorous as a life experience as other people is so it's not just like hurtful, it's like actually a dangerous thing to say to someone with intention for them to believe it, because it already hurts and you're probably already insecure about the fact that you haven't had a particular experience that other people got to have way before you. Like if you've never been in a relationship before and you've seen all your friends since high school be in relationships and you never got to have that. You already grieve that your reality is to have lack in a certain area where other people experience abundance. So you already know this in yourself, but it hurts so much more to then fight so hard to cultivate a sense of thankfulness in yourself for what you do have in your life and the experiences that you do have, just to have someone come up to you and tell you that that admirable and strong quality of yourself to be able to still be thankful for what you have in life is actually just a coping mechanism that you've employed because you just didn't get what I have and like you didn't get some. It's devastating. I've kind of been talking about this phenomenon so intensely because it's something that's relevant to me, at least in the past kind of like year. It's something that I've experienced a lot. To fall into the temptation of envy. That's one of the first things I talked about with a friend that I made earlier this year online. We'll just call him A. Around like January of this year, I met this person and immediately I was enamored with the fact that he could operate on a level that I did when it came to having conversations about past friendships and emotions and grief and moving on past grief and what that looks like with a level of complexity and nuance and understanding that was like rare for me to ever see, especially in like another man. I have conversations like that all the time with my friends that are women, but to see this in a man was like really exciting. And from the beginning, I was very excited to see, you know, where our friendship could go as two people that like understood this similar aspect of life. One of the first things, maybe not one of the first things we talked about, but we did talk about the fact that like I struggled with envy a lot, and I struggled with like kind of the temptation to fall into a state of envying other people for what they had in their life experiences that I felt like I never would be able to have. And it's funny because in the end, partially because of my own mistakes that I made in the friendship, I ended up watching that person cut me off from his attention to instead have his object of affection be a man that didn't possess that sort of vernacular or those tools to dissect his own, reasoning for why he behaves the way he does in the way that I did, which made for really cool conversations between me and A. And again, was one of the things that I most felt excited about in our friendship, and one of the things that I liked most about him. I found that this other person came into the picture that did not really care to explore that part of life and would rather talk about, anime or something. And it's funny because then I ended up realizing this person that I used to confide in the fact that I was struggling with envy became the kind of catalyst for another deep pang of envious hurt inside of me as I watched this person transition into platonically loving someone else that I felt was not as deserving as that affection. As much as it is, cruelly ironic, in a way, it almost feels like a final challenge, in the last chapter of my life where this person has been a prominent character. This kind of feels like, the call to action at the end of the friendship, to bestow upon me now this exercise in finally doing that thing that we talked about, which was being someone that could live past envy and not succumb to it and not succumb to the miserable life of being a slave to your own envy. So, but all that to say, a year from now, that person that ended up becoming friends with A could come into my DMs and play in my face about the fact that he still has A as a friend and I don't. And that he has what I don't have, which is a long-term lasting friendship with A that I will never be able to experience. I'll never be able to experience having a long-term friendship with this person because this person doesn't want to be friends with me. As much as it is hurtful to note that, I do think that in growing into a self-confidence and acceptance of yourself, that's when you can really experience the joy and fulfillment that these aggressors claim that they possess. You only have one life, and it may be less glamorous than other people's or easily described as successful from an outside perspective, but ultimately it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to have that destroy your happiness. All that to say, as much as it is saddening to come to terms with the fact that there are some things that I see other people enjoy in life that may never fall upon my path of existence in life, as much as it is saddening to note these things, I've also realized in the past couple months that I can live my life with just as much capacity for fulfillment as the next person if I take it at face value and cherish it for the fact that it is my lived experience and my experience alone. My unique perspective is something that can't be experienced by another person, and that in itself is uniquely covetable and invaluable. And so because now I've come to terms with all of this, it's now that I know that these experiences, they're allowed to mean so much to me simply because they are my own, I want to take these moments and I want to celebrate them. I want to keep them. I want to uphold them. I want to take them and save them for later. And so I think for the first time in my life, having a device that literally captures my literal perspective on life so close to reality is really exciting for me because it gives me an opportunity to have these special moments that they may not be, the epitome of living. They may not be all the most exciting events. I can still have them and I can still celebrate them and feel fulfilled by them just for what they are and not for what they could be. And I think that sort of concreteness and rooted in reality-ness of literally having files on a device that captures these moments is really exciting for me in this way, and as also kind of like an archivist. So basically all that to say, I'm really excited to have this camera. Yeah, basically all that to say, yeah, camera. I think that's definitely a new perspective on visual media that I've never really thought about before. As someone that's been so ingrained in music, it's been interesting to note this kind of shift in attitude when it comes to creating. Because to me, music feels a lot more like a creating from silence. You bring to the table, you bring sounds. You orchestrate sound into something that delivers a message that you felt inside of you that only music could express effectively. You're creating something out of nothing. With video, it very much feels like the opposite effect. It's like with video, you're curating experiences. With video, you're taking something that exists in the real world and you're capturing it and you're recontextualizing it in a timeline of other clips that give it a new meaning. It's an inviting in, whereas music feels very much of like an exporting out. Again, it kind of satisfies this want in me now to celebrate my life for what it is and not what it could be, and take it at face value and cherish it for what it is, and cherish it for the fact that it is part of my story that has objectively happened to me. I very much think that video, as it feels like it's capturing something, again, it feels very fulfilling for this part of my life. Yeah. Anyways, and this camera that I've been speaking of so vehemently is also about to die. So I'm going to end this now. Still need to work on my outros, but I'm going to wrap it up here. I think I've talked a decent amount about my channel, why I'm doing it, why I feel excited to keep doing it, hopefully, why I feel excited to bring this into the future. That's really all I've got. Let me know if this made any sense to you or if it felt like it gave you a new perspective on something. And I can't wait to put out my next short little creative video. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm really excited with this new camera. Oh my gosh, it looks amazing. It looks awesome. So really excited for that. But until next time, I will see you in the next video. Adios.